And obviously, a lot has happened this week. We got the new naira notes entering circulation yesterday, and I'm sure a lot of people, some people might have those notes in their possession at this time. Also, yesterday, we got the inflation numbers for November at 21.47%. Well, to unpack all of this, we have Mr. Paul Alaje, senior economist, SPM Professionals, join us right here in the studio. Great to have you.
Thank you so very much for having me.
It's been a while.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that you have the new notes. Not sure if you do.
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Yes.
Did you try to get it yesterday?
Well, I tried. I guess I went to the ATM. Maybe for now, it's still across the counter.
Right.
That people can access the notes from. And from the information myself and my team, we try to gather because we're monitoring the distribution to see how these notes will get to the possession of JJ, knowing fully well that the time is ticking for the old notes to stop being in circulation.
Right.
So we noticed that in some banks, 2,000 naira was a maximum that could be given per time. So it's sort of rationing because banks had also complained that they don't have them in sufficiently. So what they have to mix with the old note. So we also want to encourage the central bank to make sure that most of the deposit money bank, at least before it start getting to the MFBs, that most of the deposit bank have access to this money, sufficiently. Then they start disbursing. It could also be that the deposit bank, the commercial bank, have not taken some of their old notes to the central bank for them to access the new notes, because it also functions as new notes, not just because the redesigned note, new notes for the commercial bank that they can disburse to the public, especially the 500, the 1,000, and the 200
right.
naira notes that are just being redesigned by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
And looking at the picture behind you there, even though you've not seen the physical one, what do you think, security-wise, and do you think it is going to cause any kind of confusion,
well,
with
the 1,000 I saw in your report this morning looks a bit similar. And for the United States have actually tried to redesign currency before, but the old one remained legal tender, even in circulation till today. You also notice that in the United Kingdom, coin, which was carrying the image of the Queen, blessed memory. Now we have Prince there, but the two will remain legal tender for a while. So for Central Bank of Nigeria, there could be some reasons why they said the old currency. And I've seen on social media how people have kept money in their homes, they've kept money in the piggy bank of some sort, and this money have been wasted, and we're still capturing them as part of money in circulation. So if they're really not there, it's better we cancel them. So now Central Bank seems, in my own opinion, wants to have a fresh start of some sort. And more importantly, want to knock down money supply. They've lost grip of money supply over the years. Because if you don't have access to 80–85% of the money in circulation, then you cannot say you are in control. Some of the policies of the bank may not be giving the expected result of controlling inflation. Inflation numbers came out yesterday, 21.45, as against 6 to 9% expectation of the Central Bank of Nigeria, even in their own projection. We are not just 200% of what is expected. We are, in fact, more than 200% of what is expected. And this is December. December velocity of money is very sporadic.
Right.
So I am imagining how that target they set by Central Bank will be visible, because there seems to be early doubts. Because if you go to the ATM, as of yesterday night, you still get the old note, which means we are still sending the money back into circulation. Meanwhile, we should be withdrawing the old note from the Nigerian system.
So does it mean the bank should have stopped dispensing through the ATMs? Yes,
but that is very risky. That could lead to an industry risk. If you go to the ATM, bank says they don't have the redesigned notes, and if bank don't put money in their ATM, people may panic, and everybody is going to bank to withdraw their monies together. There's no bank that can attend to everybody together. So the way the banking system works, if 10 people put money in the bank, it is guaranteed that all the 10 people cannot come at the same time to withdraw their money. If all the 10 people come, such bank we close. You know why?
Not a good time for a bank run.
Yes, you know why? Because they've given part of the money as loans, as credits. The money they give to people as credit is not their own. So some people already have the money as credit before they call the money that have been given as loan back, and everybody wants to collect the money back. Such bank is gone. So that is why I think it would be very dangerous for banks to say we are not going to give the old note until they have sufficiently the new note in their possession. They can pull that. But mark you, central bank is also saying certain dates in January. And there will be limitation. What you see that will be dispensed from the ATMs will be 200 naira of this new note. This policy is coming back to back. How Nigerian economy will be able to swallow it is still leaving us with a lot, to guess. But we hope that the future is really going to be very hopeful.
Right, and obviously we know why the central bank is doing this. One of the reasons, because most of the old notes have been hoarded. So what do you think should be the plan to make sure the new notes are not hoarded?
Well, what I noticed the central bank is trying to do is to monitor right now by saying there is a limit to what you can withdraw. But we need to balance the economy. You see, the challenge we've had is good to come up with policy. But when you don't look at policy holistically and look at the impact on the stakeholders, the Nigerian public, the poor, the rich, the United Nations, an agency of United Nations and National Bureau of Statistics says we have over 130 million Nigerians. If you don't look at it holistically, and you make policy without measuring what the impact will be, or create a test of some sort, create a guinea pig of some sort by going to a community and test it and do a test run. Because economies can also be experimented. It's not just going to be in a laboratory, but economies can be experimented. Experiment it, get what the response will be, not just to write it on paper. And that is why economics is a social science. It's not a pure science, but it's a social science. So what is expected is we should have experimented this to see. If you say the limit should be 20,000 naira averagely a day, which is of course not up to, because there are 7 days in a week, and if somebody is traveling from a point A, say Lagos here, to Sokoto, how much will he pay in transport? He's returning the next day, and this man only has access to 100,000. Maybe he's going with 2 kids, or with a wife, or 2 wives, or 4 wives. Where will they get the cash from? Because for what I know, for most commercial buses, they still don't use POS as a means of collection. Mark you, that's even a different conversation entirely, because most of these guys, when you go to them, they even buy a fuel that morning. They don't have any savings.
That reminds me of a video I saw yesterday on social media, a bus conductor not agreeing to accept the new notes from one passenger. So that obviously is a problem in itself.
Well, education. I think central bank, we need to partner more with the media. For instance, your station is one of the stations with high integrity. Maybe they come up with drama, put it in all languages, not just English language, pidgin. Let everybody know. Even demonstrate people that can relate with bus conductors. So demonstrate it to them, not just in the newspaper for people that put on tie. Like me, no. We are already aware of the policy. But those that are not aware, those in the grassroots, those that are selling pap, come by the roadside, vulcanizers, how do we let them know that this is legal tender? There's nothing about the paper. It is government. When government says this is what we will accept, if it's tissue paper, government says this is what we should accept, it becomes legal tender automatically. So government should now also let those who may not be aware to know that the rules have changed. There is an Hausa proverb that says when music changes, dance must also change. So it's important for those, for bus conductors and whosoever need to know, but they are stakeholders in the economy, because without a bus conductor, I tell you, if you don't have your own vehicle, it may decide not to pick you at the bus stop to the next station. That bus conductor will now become very, very significant. So how do we let them know that the new policy is to collect the new redesigned, quote and unquote, naira from passengers who may want to move from a point to the other?
Right. And obviously, we've had the issue of, currency devaluation. Obviously, inflation still, biting hard at this time. And now we have, the lower denominations are supposed to be the ones in circulation. So I'm wondering, how is this playing into, devaluation? That means you need more to actually, do your transaction.
You see, what I think monetary authority, and I'm going to be very specific with this, is we should not be carried away with the euphoria of redesigning money. That is not what matters in economics. What matters in economics is the value of money. What can this money buy? In year 2000, what can 200 naira buy? In year 2005, what can 1,000 naira buy in 2010? Can it still buy the same thing? If it cannot buy the same thing, then why are we acting as though the value has remained the same? what should be the intention of government, fiscal, monetary, and trade authorities is how do we improve the value of this money called naira? Because on daily basis, naira seems to be receiving double jabs. You know, Anthony Joshua, we tell the meaning of that. You know, left hook, uppercut from the rest of the world. And this is not just for naira. We have even seen CD. CD is also receiving, you know, combination of blows from the rest of the major currencies in the world. So that brings me to why are we complaining in DRC? Why are we complaining in Nigeria? Why do we have so much economic hardship in so many parts of Africa? It is because African and African leaders did not prepare for the future they found themselves economically. And I will tell you this. Different countries of the world knew that the world is susceptible to any major crisis. It could be excess supply of crude. It could be that somebody wake up in Russia and decide to fire its counterpart in Ukraine. It could be that China wants to make policy. We want to have zero COVID, you know, and say everybody go back home. Without discovering that if you don't buy enough of Bonny Light from Nigeria, which is our crude, it will affect the prices. Without understanding that there are enough crises around the world already that is forcing inflation on Africa because of price of gas. If this happens, what should Africa do? What is wrong with our refineries? Why can't we trade with ourselves? We have seen continental free trade agreements that we hope that we make Africa buy more. But you know, the companion of fools, you know, when you have a lot of countries that really don't want to take the tough decision. What is the tough decision for Africa? Manufacturing. Almost all the parts of Africa can farm. We say, oh, go back to farm, go back to farm. But when you farm, you cannot eat paddy. Paddy is the output in a rice farm. You have to still mill it. If you don't have power, you cannot mill. So the conversation is, what is the foundation for every development? Power, energy must be constant. Nigerians have spent years, and I say 50 years, to rehearse madness. When are we going to practice it? When are we going to have constant power supply? These are real issues. When are we going to say that we will not need to travel because we want to import education anymore? And this same illustration applies to the rest of Africa. When are we going to say health will become relatively available, affordable in Africa? If we don't make this available, if we don't also make production available and affordable in Africa, I'm afraid, no matter what we do, whether we redesign our currency, even if we say we want to use ECO for the rest of West Africa, whatever policy you make, you are missing the foundation. If the foundation be destroyed, what shall the righteous do? You have to go back to it. You have to build it. And the building blocks is get energy correctly, redesign your policy to support production. You know why? Russia is one of the world power, not because it has missiles, because it also produces. And Russia has the largest population in entire Europe. But when you break Europe into two and say you are looking at Eastern Europe, Russia, Germany, the largest in Western part, Western Europe, production, America, production. Brazil has also started advertising, you know, partnering with media for production. Nigeria is the largest in Africa. Our skin is not a reason for our back to be on the ground. We must understand, those that are contesting, I've seen a lot of frontliners, governors, and presidents, they must communicate how to boost production, how to increase the capacity of Nigerians in terms of productive capacity for us to have significant employment, because that is what many Nigerians, if you look at unemployment numbers, you are a business journalist, you know, right, a respected one for that matter. Look at our unemployment numbers, look at inflation at 21.47. That means if you have collected these old notes, you had one old note this time last year, and you are going to the bank to exchange it for the new note, without anything missing, something has missed. 214 naira plus some cover has disappeared. Why? It is because the face value of money is not what matters. The real value of money is what economics bother about.
But can we pull, even if it's a few benefits from this redesign?
Wow, so a lot of benefits I must also add. One of the benefits is that those who kept the money, they refuse to put the money in productive capacity. They have to return to the bank. They don't even need to start a business. The moment it gets to the bank will lend to producers in economic theory. When they lend to producers, job, job, and job. Again, some who thought they've already stacked the money, I don't have any evidence, but from what we have seen on social media, if you can go by that, they want to bribe electorate, to buy their vote. It also becomes very, very difficult for them. But you see, central bank, we have to do the monetary function, which is the core mandate. And we need to allow EFCC, ICPC, and other agencies of government, including INEC, to do election monitoring. Central bank, we only do a bit of all of those, maybe to control money supply. But you see, these are benefits of changing the color, of changing the face of naira. But more importantly, what we also need to find out after these policies, how do we improve the value of the naira? Either we're going to bring more education, train our people so that when they go out, they can help repatriate some of the funds, which is one of the things Central Bank had in mind this year. How do we have about $200 billion repatriation back into the Nigerian economy? And Central Bank was very active, did a presentation. We saw the communique that the Central Bank of Nigeria, through the governor of the Central Bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, had put to the public. And we hope that we will achieve them. Because if you bring in $200 billion in a few years to Nigeria, I tell you, the crash you are seeing in the FX market will be different almost immediately. Exactly.
Well, I guess 2023 is going to be a very, interesting year for all of us.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to see how the MPC goes ahead battling, inflation going forward. We've seen other central bankers, hike rates this week.
But there's challenge with continuous increase in rates, especially when everybody is doing that. It means the world may be going into a recession in 2023.
R word.
America is already battling, hoping not to go into a recession, but I doubt. China also have seen the handwriting that if we continue to lock our people under lock and key, it may end in a recession. Nigeria still has over 3% GDP growth rate. Will it remain the same at 21% inflation? I doubt. But we can only be hopeful that even if we may not get up to 3%, but we should be looking at something around 2% or to be at par with our population growth rate, knowing fully well what our projection was in the 2023 budget. But I doubt if all of those will manifest in 2023.
We're going hopeful.
Very hopeful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
That was Mr. Paul Alajide, senior economist, SPM Professionals, telling us what to expect for 2023 and his perspective on the redesign. Thank you so much.